One of the topics that I get asked about a lot is the response with sleep in regards to type 2 diabetics. Many of our type 2 diabetics that we're working with have a problem sleeping. And what is going on with that? Why is that actually happening? Well, typically the first question I'm going to ask them is, number one, do you have a problem falling asleep or staying asleep? Or I guess the last one would be both. So we have to identify this first, right? So what I mean is this person, they try to go to sleep and they just toss and turn for multiple hours, or maybe they're staying up till 2 a.m. because they're just not tired and they just feel really energetic. And they say, oh, I'm a night owl, right? That's not normal. We have what's called a circadian rhythm. And that circadian rhythm requires us to go to sleep because our body needs sleep to regenerate, to increase hormone production, to regenerate our cells and allow our brain to do its job to release things and to get toxins out of our body, and just need rest to recover from the day. So there's a specific time period where we should be sleeping, and that usually is between about 10 and 6 a.m. And if you're going to bed at say 2, 3 in the morning and then sleeping until say noon, you're saying, well, I'm getting my 8 hours of sleep. But the reality is you're getting poor quality of sleep because you're behind on that circadian rhythm. So falling asleep could be an issue, and then staying asleep. This is the individual where they're falling asleep, no problem, but around 1, 2, 3 in the morning, they're waking up. And it's a struggle to get back to sleep. I'm not saying you wake up and go to the bathroom and you can go back to sleep. If that's the case, this is not an issue for you. But if you're waking up and you're struggling to get back to sleep, it takes about 1, 2, even 3 hours, or having to pop melatonin, those sort of things to get yourself back to sleep, this is an issue. Something is going on here. And in some cases, it could be both. You could have an issue falling asleep, you struggle to fall asleep, and then when you finally get to sleep, you're waking up multiple times throughout the night. So what are common reasons for this? Now, one of them we can commonly see, one of those problems that we can see is sleep hygiene. Right? Oftentimes what people do is they tend to put themselves in front of the TV, maybe fall asleep on the couch, they wake up and they try to go back to sleep and they can't do that because they have poor sleep hygiene. Or maybe they're in their bedroom and they fall asleep with the TV on. Another scenario can be you're on your computer or on your iPad or on your phone until you want to go to sleep. The problem with these things are what are called screen time. And what screen time does is it releases a light, a blue light from the screen, which is igniting the eyes. And that ignition in the eyes can last for multiple hours. So what's really important in regards to sleep hygiene is making sure you're turning off all devices, TV, computer, iPad, e-readers, your phone, all those things, at least 30 minutes minimum to an hour prior to going to sleep. Other sleep hygiene things you can do as well by helping yourself fall asleep easier and staying asleep is making sure you're turning off devices like your cell phone. Now, if you need to have your cell phone on because someone could be calling you, like your kids or someone else, then make sure it's at least 6 to 8 feet away and you can plug it in over there, not next to your bed where it's constantly going off or emitting things like EMFs. And if you have the ability, turn off your Wi-Fi if you can as well, unless it's far away in your home. But many times it can be in our bedrooms. We want to make sure we do that. So the third thing we want to do is making sure that you're in a quiet and dark environment. There's research that says even the light from the smoke detector can be detected by your eyes with your eyelids closed that can ignite the light enough to keep you awake. So sometimes we've even had to have patients go up there, put a piece of electrical tape over that light just to help them sleep. Don't use night lights. Don't turn your bathroom light on. Make sure it's completely dark. Make sure your blinds are closed as well. You're not seeing any light coming from outside. A dark, quiet room. This is the first thing I typically recommend in regards to sleep hygiene, is doing those types of things. And reading a book, reading a magazine about 30 minutes before going to bed, because that calms the brain down. How often have you done this where you're reading a book and you start feeling really drowsy and you fall asleep really easily? That's a big, important one. Now, the next thing we can look at as well is, why is the person waking up multiple times a night? Well, the reality is the reason why they're waking up multiple times a night is very commonly can be associated with sleep hygiene as well. So making sure you're following those recommendations first. Now, how does this play a role in type 2 diabetes? Because there's a specific gland in your body, And that gland is called the adrenal gland. And the adrenal gland produces a hormone called cortisol. Now, why is this important? Because cortisol is what's referred to as a stimulatory hormone. Now, ideally, in our circadian rhythms, cortisol is very high in the morning. So oftentimes, people refer to that as the internal alarm clock. You just wake up without actually recognizing your alarm going off. And that's because your adrenal gland is dumping excessive amounts of cortisol and it wakes you up. And if you have that type of experience, this is why it's happening. Now, what that happens is throughout the day, your cortisol will start to rise. So it starts to rise throughout the day, and then at night, it slowly goes down low. So this is what a cortisol should look like throughout the day. So oftentimes what we see with individuals, especially with diabetes, they get tired in this midday situation because of the situation I'm about to talk about. So cortisol is very stimulatory. So if your cortisol is increasing at night right here, what's it going to do? It's going to keep you awake. It may wake you up in the middle of the night. And so this is a common thing that we see is cortisol production because your rhythm is off. And sometimes you may see it like flatlined throughout the day and then going up like this. And that's an individual who says they're a night owl. Right? Remember, this is not a good, healthy situation. This is ideal. This is not ideal. So why would someone be overproducing cortisol? Well, this comes into play in the diagram in regards to type 2 diabetes that I have here. This is an example of what should happen as a normal non-diabetic. So our body or our gut consumes food, or we consume food, and then a gut breaks it down and it releases it into what is called glucose, right? Glucose is our fuel. It's sugar, but it's our fuel. Just like you put gas into the gas tank of your car, is going into your engine, it's its fuel source. This is no different. So in this situation here, we can see that the glucose has been released into the bloodstream, and now the goal is to get this glucose into your cell because that's where it belongs. And if you can't get into your cell, well, then that's going to be a big problem going on. Now, what happens in the situation, ideally what should occur, is we have also another hormone here called insulin. And insulin and glucose work together in this. So what happens is insulin and glucose come down to the cell together, and insulin will attach to what's called an insulin receptor. Just for basic understanding, not going too deep in this, but it's a receptor. Think like a key and a lock, right? If they work together, you're going to be able to unlock that lock and the door will open. This is no different. If the insulin can attach to the receptor, it opens a door in the cell, and now that sugar has the ability to get into the cell and do its job. This is normal functioning physiology. This is what happens all day long, every single day for individuals who have normal blood sugar regulation, blood sugar function, because it happens at the cellular level. Now, what happens with a type 2 diabetic? Well, unfortunately, with a type 2 diabetic, this problem gets blocked, or this process gets blocked. Something is blocking that whole process, meaning it's blocking the ability for insulin to get into the key or the key to the lock and opening that door. And it's blocking the ability for glucose or sugar to get in your cell. That's a big problem because if you can't get glucose into your cell can't function properly. And over time, it's going to get worse and you're going to get sicker and you're going to develop some sort of complication or disease process. So if we can't get this sugar into the cell because it's blocked, where's it going to go? It's going to go right back into the bloodstream, right? And then what are we going to see? We're going to see elevated glucose across the board. And as this continues to happen over a period of time, and this takes decades, eventually you go and see your doctor and they say, you have type 2 diabetes. So this doesn't happen on one cell. This can happen when multiple cells are broken, right? When we have thousands of cells, hundreds of thousands of cells that are broken. Remember, we have trillions of cells. So it requires a certain percentage of your cells to be damaged to cause this excessive sugar to go up. Now, that can take 10 years, 20 years, 30 years to develop. That's why it takes so long to develop. And then one day you say, oh my gosh, I have elevated sugars, even though you don't have any symptoms in many cases, most people are diagnosed on a routine office visit. So as the sugar continues to increase over time, it's going to create a process or issues. Because what is elevated sugar going to do to the body? It's going to create stress. And why is that important? Because stress will impact your adrenal glands. Why? Because your adrenal glands are your stress glands. And when this stressful environment continues, what's it going to do? It's going to increase the amount of cortisol production in your body. And so what are the mechanisms that are going to happen? You're going to have brain fog. You're going to have weight gain, because cortisol can cause you to gain weight. It's going to cause sleep issues, because if you're producing too much cortisol throughout the day, you're going to mess up your circadian rhythm, and you're going to start producing more at night, keeping you awake. So the reason why we're talking about this here is not only will sleep hygiene help, and I hope you do that type of stuff. It's going to be very beneficial. And if you do that and it helps you, fantastic. But if you do better sleep hygiene, but you're still not seeing the impacts, it's likely because your situation here, your diabetes is worsening, and you're seeing sugars increasing inside your body, and the progression of the disease, which is now impacting your adrenal glands, causing cortisol production, and you're getting sicker. You see, this is not a problem of just elevated blood sugar. This disease, diabetes, impacts every single area of your body, which is why it's so important that you need to identify what's going on. We need to identify, what is this? What is going on here? If you don't identify this, then not only will it be an adrenal issue, but it can become a liver problem. It can become problems like neuropathy, cardiovascular disease, vision issues, circulation, brain problems like type 3 diabetes, Alzheimer's, and dementia. This will not stop. Why? Because every single cell in your body makes up a tissue, a system, or an organ. And whatever amount of cells are being damaged first, that's when you're going to start noticing. So you can either wait until you're in that emergency situation, or take this information that we're giving you here today and do something about it now. Get a comprehensive evaluation to identify what this is, what is going on there that is driving this problem for you, and get the results you're looking for. This is why we can help people reverse diabetes and why we have such a high success rate, because we focus on this and we address that problem specifically and create a customized solution to start reversing that. And what's going to happen when we start impacting these cells? One by one by one by one, 10 of them, 1,000, hundreds of them, hundreds of thousands of them over time, we're going to start to see a decrease in your sugar. And when you fix more and more cells, you continue to see more and more decrease of your sugar, what's going to happen with your medication? It's going to go down. And eventually you'll be not taking any more medication, because your body will be able to do this whole process again on its own, like you were able to at one time in your life. And that's the goal, and that's how you truly reverse diabetes. All right, hopefully this educational video was helpful for you today. And if it was, please comment below. Make sure you follow and like our page, because this information will be coming out on a weekly basis, and I don't want you to miss out on this. We'll see you next week.